the time reading is pretty insane that you
Yeah,
have.
that's it, mate. Like I'll be able to, like Oscar, he's told me, I think like they do 2 hours of training 5 nights a week, and then there's like shooting sessions in the morning 2 or 3 days a week, right? Like that's like, and plus games obviously, and like travel for games is quite big because his closest match is like a 5 hour drive, and some are like you have to get flights and stuff. But that being said, like the free time's gonna be crazy. Like
Mm.
that's where I I'm gonna read difficult books, and at the moment I have basketball, YouTube, and uni, and I have to balance those three. But at that time, I'll literally just have basketball, which is my job, and like learning and growing and making the content. I see that as like the process of growing as well.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, that's you do become dangerous when you
And,
have that.
and it's 30 months away, you know, like,
So is it 2 years in London you're going to spend?
yeah.
So yeah, that's a great. Yeah, I suppose the credibility helps as well.
And also just like, I'm not ready to go abroad yet
Mm.
as a man and as a basketball player. Like I
Who
want
Oscar was.
good, his skills wise, 100%. But I think a lot of like the life skill bits, he sort of just got thrown in and he managed to swim. Like he didn't sink. Like
We can cut this back and stuff, but like, does he have? Has he made like friends and stuff? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he's not
okay.
like he gets on well with his team, and um,
Yeah.
he's met a few people, and um, he said to me this week that like moving to Spain made him significantly happier, and then getting classified has made him significantly happier. And he said he feels like a lot of things have fallen into place over the past year just for his life. Because now, if the guy doesn't have a career-ending injury, like he could have a 15-year career playing professionally. Like he's sorted. Like he's playing well in the Spanish league. He's been offered a contract at the team that are third in the best league in the world. And he turned it down. Like the guy is doing a quality job in a pro league, and skills wise he was definitely ready. But I think he'd admit that he had to just sort of take a leap and go figure it out. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, it was very clear to me that he wasn't enjoying himself that 1 year after his A levels.
Yeah, I mean he didn't even do A levels.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
Like that year he worked as a receptionist. Like I feel like that was good for him actually, because it showed him like how life can be if you've just got a shit job.
Mm.
And then when the Spain opportunity came along, he wasn't like, oh, it'd be a bit scary moving to a foreign country. He was like, I need to go.
Mm.
Which I sort of feel like was good for me when I had that. There was like 3-4 weeks when I worked on that like door-to-door survey job, and how horrific that was. Like having to just knock on doors and be like, hello, do you want to do this? And they go, no. And I go, okay. And like to deal with all the weird like corporateness of the training calls that we did and all of that. Like it made me realize that it sounds so bad, but I think Rogan has said similar things, and this makes me sound like such a pretentious knobhead. Like I know it does, but like I don't know if I could do that. I don't know. I almost respect like bin men and stuff, and like just the person that works just a normal job. I'm like, wow, you have a kind of grit that I couldn't do. Like I can do hard work, I can do grunt work in training, I can push my brain and my body, but I don't know if I could push my soul like that and do something unfulfilling. That's a good way of thinking about it, isn't it?
Yes, it's like if you're not putting your brain and body for it, you're putting your soul for it.
Ooh, someone should write that down.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's like you have a choice. You have to push. You have to push something. If you don't like train your mind and your body and push them to a level of discomfort, you'll make your soul uncomfortable. One of them is getting discomfort.
What I kind of feel like though, um, I think I couldn't like not try at all. I couldn't. I just don't think it's worth living. Like, it, it, I'm very. I think I developed like kind of tunnel vision, and now I just don't think an average life is worth living. Like, it would. It's like you've got no purpose because you're not working towards anything. There's no bigger picture,
Mm.
and like I would like, well, what's the point of not doing something?
Well, that's it. Well, that's it. If you think about like the brain gets most of its positive emotion from working towards valuable goals. Like that's where you get your happy brain chemicals from. Is from working towards something meaningful. And as men, I think especially we need that ambition, that hunger, that drive to go and do something that not only makes us feel good, but actually serves the world and serves the people around us. That's what one of the main messages in The Way of the Superior Man is by David Data, right? He basically says, like, if you don't have a mission and a purpose, you let everyone else down because your energy as a man is completely different. You know, and this is going to sound so bad as well, but I'm going to say it because it's just how I see the world. When I'm in the sauna, there are two types of guys. There's a guy who's there's a guy like on yesterday that I met. He's in good shape. I mean, I reckon he was in his 50s, but he's jacked. He had a good mind. We managed to have a good chat. His wife arrived. He's got this beautiful wife. He's got 3 kids. You know, all of this. And I'm like, you're a great bloke. Like, you're doing good shit. And then you see some other blokes that come in, like overweight, the same age as this guy, overweight, like they look tired, they look depressed, and they don't say anything for the whole 20 minutes we're in the sauna. And it's like almost the energy just coming off these two men is one is like happening to life and the other life is happening to them, you know? And it's like you see those two like midlife possibilities right in front of you. Do you get what I mean? Like, I know that sounds bad, but that is a reality.
And that girl that was like, who's trying to tear down the patriarchy is like, if you don't want a masculine man, what do you want?
Well, this is it, right? This is it. Like, this is what I tried to explain to her. Is that the men that do the bad things that you hate, the murdering, the raping, the sexism, they're all weak men. Like, it's like what Goggins talked about on that podcast. He said alpha men don't want to tear anyone down. It's like real alpha men just want to provide and want to work hard and want to study the darkness, right? They don't give a shit about like having because they are at the top of their game. They don't have to murder and rape people. They don't have to do that. What that is that's men with unfulfilled needs that use violent and abusive methods to fill those needs because they can't fill them because they're not valuable. No one wants to be around them. Like, what you need to do is lift people up. You need actual strong men. Like, not the like, I'd hate that weak men behavior is associated with masculinity because masculinity can be an amazing thing. And so can femininity. They both have to live in harmony together. It's not one against the other. It's not like masculinity being big crushes femininity. No, we need each other. That polarity is important. And yeah, that's what annoys me because like the more you tear down the idea of being a good man, the more weak men you get and the more sexism you'll get and the more people actually hate like this whole feminism movement because it offends us. It's like what I said to her as well was, I said to her, do I really have to like suffer from a system that I didn't choose just because I have a penis? So is that actually my role then? Is I have to be limited in my ambition and who I want to be as a man because these horrible men that got in power did things and I'm the same gender as them. Like, what a stupid argument. I didn't choose to be a man. But I'm here now and I'm going to try and do something good with it.
Yeah. Do you think all men should be masculine then? Or should aim to be a masculine man?
This is an interesting point because, like, the viewpoint we have today is that anyone can be the kind of person they want to be, and I still think that should be the case. You know, if a boy wants to be more feminine, let him be more feminine. That's fine. What I don't like is the discouragement of a masculine view of being a man, and how that's actually been associated with like murdering, raping, sexism, like oppression, all that. Because I think what that is that's guys that put on this facade of being true powerful men when they're actually just little boys, you know.
So the bad men are putting on a faking to be real men.
Because it's really easy to fake, isn't it? It's really easy. You know, that's why, because it's like what Hormozy says of like, he knows who he really is. Like, as individuals, we all know who we actually are, right? We put on a front in every social scenario, in everything that we post, and everything that we say, and everything that we do in public. A lot of that is this sort of facade, and I think it's very easy to put on this front of who you are when actually that's not real, and like creating congruency between who you really are and what you present. That's what authenticity is, but it's difficult, man. Like, I admit it myself, like, what I feel is when I'm on the podcast and I'm talking like this is like peak Joel, and like it's who I am in my good state when I have good days. But like, I'm not going to come on here when I'm in bad Joel state, because like no one wants to listen to that. But that's the reality, is that I'm a mixture of all of these kind of, all this spectrum of Joels, right? And everyone tries to present their best self, because that's the way you live life, is you try and show the best of yourself for people to admire and respect and be friends with. So, but yeah, like, I think it's a big front. It's like what Goggins said, man. Real men don't give a shit about that stuff, man. They don't gossip. They don't give a fuck about what they wear. They don't give a fuck about what they drive. They just want to provide for people, work hard, and do what's right.
And this is the danger of the persona, right? Because if you're playing a role that isn't true to you, or you're acting in a persona, like I'm sure probably a lot of people do, they know that they're not being them.
Yeah.
I mean, a good example is that a girl that we both know, she knew that when there's other people around that she's playing an act.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. How can you do that to yourself?
But isn't that what midlife crises are? You know, you live 45 years as one person, and then you wake up one day, you're like, this isn't me. You know, that's what it is. And the quarter life crisis is just a small version of that. But yeah, it's a defense mechanism though, isn't it? You know, if you don't like who you are, you're not gonna try and show that in the world. We all do it, and I still do it to this day. But I feel like the people I'm close to, I come more and more out of my shell.
And is it like when you do hard things, you find out more about who you are?
That test the boundaries.
Yeah, test the boundaries. You see yourself under different situations, and you learn about yourself through new possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy called Ross Edgley who's done some crazy like sport endurance things. He like swam around the edge of Great Britain, and he did a triathlon towing a tree, and all this kind of crazy shit. And he said, you only meet your true self in a state of pure exhaustion. You know, and in my mind, that could be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like, only by going to your edge do you know where the boundaries of yourself are. You know?
I think it's also about like what you think, you sort of figure out your values as well. Because you'll question yourself, you'll think, is this the life that I picked? The choices that I made to this point, the sacrifices that I'm taking, is this what I really value? And some people probably 360s them, and then they go and they give up, and then they switch to something else. Whereas some...
Yeah, it's deep, man. Deep. Like, we're both cursed that we think on this level, or maybe we're blessed because it makes us do certain different things. But the thing that's positive is that not everyone is aware of these kind of things, and not everyone's in a crisis then, you know. Some people are just happy being just waking up every day and living out whatever they're living out, whatever experience they're having.
Ignorance is bliss.
It is in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
There's just a middle ground that's like very hard. It's uncertain.
yeah,
Because I think like the bottom one's striving to get better, so they're kind of like their world is that has like tighter boundaries.
Well, they don't have
The
that.
people in the
Yeah, they don't have that judge we were talking about. That, like, when you have an ideal of who you want to be, that is then a judge. They are probably pretty satisfied with where they're at. Whereas ambitious people create this ideal that they want to reach, and then there's that gap between where they are and where they want to be. And before they've closed that gap, it can be tough.
I kind of think about it like people that haven't grown in a couple of years. Like you grow as you kind of develop in teenage years, but like there's people that I don't think I just realised that they haven't grown in a year. There's a guy that I used to know from school. I follow him casually on Instagram, and it's quite sad because he was like a liked person, but he did a bit of drug dealing, and he was a bit of a chav. It sort of turned into but a nice one. And 2 years later, he's still doing the same thing. He's just hanging around with younger people because the younger people with him kind of moved on. But I think he's still happy, or at least, well, he presents it. But that's his world. Yeah. So if you're not gonna, it's like you got this thing of being all in. Like if you're gonna think about growing, you got to escape the middle ground. And that's what we're trying to escape, and we're getting a bit closer and stuff. But,
Every day, mate. Every day a slight bit, tiny little inch. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're in a snail race right now. Like we're going slow, but at least we're going. You know? Like on that growth point, it's interesting. Like I was talking to Ryan the other night, and I said to him sort of something along the lines of, do you realise how much you've altered my life in like a good way? And I was like, if I hadn't met you, I would still be, you know, thinking of staying at Exeter University for 3 years, then maybe doing a master's, sort of just playing basketball casually, like, and I would have probably done well in life. But like he the way he framed it, I quite liked was he was like, Joel, if you hadn't made the decision to move to London next year, he was like, not only would you still be in Exeter, but you would still be old Joel. You would still be the kid with the ponytail from Brixham. And he was like, we're building something different than that. You know, like being the kid with the ponytail from Brixham is a nice little story. But like, we're going bigger than that. You know?
Yeah, it's the next level. There will become a time where the London years is kind of the new level. And then it become a norm, and then you'll be ready for the next level.
That's it. And it's like this year Exeter has been good because it's made me independent, and I have been up and about a lot, and I've been staying disciplined with the things that I need to do. And like next year, with the amount of training sessions I do just on my own in a sort of dirty, like tiny court in a small second campus in Exeter, they're going to set me up for the times where, like when I move to UEL, yeah, UEL's a shit uni academically, but the facilities are so good. And like 90% of my individual sessions are going to be with a coach, and like maybe with one or two other players as well. Like the amount I'm going to grow as a player just through that. Like, yes, doing individual sessions is useful, but doing individual sessions with a coach that's like looking at your move specifically, like, oh, you need to change your chair position slightly when you take this shot, or when you're doing this, think about it this way, and this is how you need to defend people that are doing this, and all those tiny little tweaks that you don't get. Because even great coaches at team sessions can't stop the play every 5 seconds and be like, oh, you need to hold the ball with this hand when you do that pivot on that side of the key. You need to pass it this way when you've got the defender this side of you. Like, there isn't time to do that. And attention. So, yeah, like, who knows what's going to happen, man. Like I hadn't predicted that I would be doing this next year. And that goes to you as well. Like who the hell knows where you'll be in 3 to 5 years?
Mm.
And it comes from the micro decisions on a daily and monthly basis. But go on.
Yeah, something's good is like I feel like we're having less bad days, less days that are like our disciplines reach a certain level that like most training sessions, the worst that happens, or the worst that happens in a day is we show up, only get
Yeah.
half of what we predicted done.
Yeah.
Like a day a year ago used to be nothing, like get nothing done.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's even like noticeable difference from the start of the year. Like we're only like 3 months in.
100%. Like the way that Euro Cup went, I wouldn't have expected at the beginning of this year. The way that I feel on myself, I wouldn't have expected at the beginning of this year. And like, what a point on what you said there is that I feel like you can get so acclimatized to what you're doing. So like, it kind of fogs your vision of how much you're actually growing when you're always thinking about how you could be better. So you're always thinking about the future and what could be developed and how I can improve this thing. When actually to other people, and I know you shouldn't compare yourself to other people, but I'm only really saying that to take that perspective is if you look at your life objectively, like you're doing a whole lot. To you, it might not feel like it, but like I train every day, get my meals in, I eat relatively healthy, like I don't lie, I can drive, like I'm like things are in a good place, but because you have that ambitious mind, you're always like you said, tunnel vision. What you do every day just seems normal. Like I forget that most people don't make YouTube videos because to me it's just part of life. It's like, okay, I've got a free morning tomorrow. Like, right, I'm gonna start the idea and a script for the next video. Because I'm just in this like mill of just creating and training and working, and it just goes and goes and goes. And yes, I have my time off on my slower days, but it just feels normal now. It just feels like life.
And all it took was the first step.
100%, yeah.
There's a mile wide and an inch deep, and you've just got to be able to control being. You've got to be okay with being a fool for a while.
I was thinking about that today, actually, when I was in the gym. The way that you reminded me that the fool is the precursor to the savior. Oh, it's so good. It's such a deep idea when you think about it. Like, you have to go out and be a muppet for a while. You have to have people think, like, what are you on about? You know, I love those reels when I see them where it's like people capturing like POV, like you didn't give up, or you stayed consistent, or you kept showing up, and they show like them making content in 2017 and them making content in 2024, or them like starting a sport when they were a teenager, starting the gym when they were skinny as a teenager, and them now. And it's like, yeah,
You're crazy until you prove right.
yeah. And I'm actually happy with remaining crazy. Like, I'm happier doing this now. Like, if life just stayed like this, I'm pretty happy, you know?
Yeah. I want to touch on the topic of something you said at the start of the call, which was the why do you think that the world doesn't want you to be happy?
Cool. Because if too many people were happy, then it wouldn't really work. Like the systems we live under wouldn't work, because happy people don't accept mediocrity, I don't think, in their emotions, in their actions, in their relationships. Like, I think if people were happier, a lot more people would just turn around and go, hold on, what am I doing? And just think, like, what we mean by the world is we mean society, right? And what I mean by that is people want us to buy things and always be wanting, right? Materialism, consumerism, individualism, all of that they're the big powers, right? And yeah, you can be happy in this world, in this society, but the priority for society, in inverted commas, is that you're always wanting more. And wanting more inherently means you're not satisfied, because happiness is where you want what you already have. You know, you're happy to just be here. So I think that's the key thing. Is like we are just always constantly consuming and buying. And I think that's why I say the world doesn't want you to be happy. Because if you're happy, you don't care about, you know, what you don't look at the news if you're happy, and you don't buy shitty clothes that you'll wear for like a week, you know.
Yeah. The important thing is, it's like the world isn't designed for us to be happy.
That's the best way of putting it. Yeah, it's not like the world has an intention. Like, it might be people in power that have an intention, but the world is just the world. But the world's not designed for you to be happy. That's a good way of thinking about it.
I think it's also crabs in a bucket. It's like there's mental barriers that you have to overcome over and over again because society frowns upon it.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? My mum's still to this day, she says, "Why don't you like watch the news? You don't keep in track with the news, Jacob. You need to know what's going on."
Now, what do you mean you need to know what's going on? What do you mean by what's going on? Like, yes, there are travesties going on in the world all the time, but I don't have conscious control over them. So why should I fill my brain with that negativity? Like, surely my efforts and my mental energy should be better put in the person I'm becoming and the value I'm going to put into the world, rather than watching the news and then having some take on some global issue that doesn't even affect me. It's all a big distraction. This is what the guy in the sauna was telling me about when we were talking about manifestation and stuff. He was all just like, everything is distraction. Just focus on you and your goals, and you get there. You just, every day you speak to yourself in the mirror, you feel it, you do it, you act, you play, you go. And all of this, he was just getting so enthusiastic. And he was telling me, like, as a young person, he was like, don't give a shit about any of it. It is all a lie. It is all a big distraction. And I was like, this is great. I'm loving this. But it's true.
Yeah. The news doesn't fit within my tunnel vision.
No, it's not part of your game that you're playing.
Yeah, it's like, it's also other people's problems being put onto you. Like, deal with your own problems. You can't control other people else's. It's like, I look at, if I see a news story, yeah, that sounds like a you problem, mate.
No, but it's like, look, it's like Peterson's idea of put your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. It's almost like clean your fucking house before you try and clean someone else's. You know, or clean your house before you start judging other people's houses. You know, like if someone wants to watch the news and get involved in the world and have political takes or even go into politics, like, I'd want to ask them, right, how's your health? How's your relationships? Like, what do you think about when you first wake up in the morning? Because it's always that classic thing to take the piss out of politicians. But like, what can Boris Johnson, like, what's his heart rate variability? I bet it's fucked. Do you know what I mean? What does he wake up and eat in the morning? I bet he gets up and the first thing he does is eat Weetabix. Do you know what I mean? Like how, like, where is your, I don't know, I know I sound so bad, I don't know, but this is actually like my real thoughts coming out. I'm just like, what are you, like, you probably, yes, you went to Eton, you've learned a lot of shit, and you know the right people, and you've been voted in. But like, where's your health at, bro? Where's your mental, physical health at? You know?
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk to Cole about this.
yeah, get him, honestly, because he's rising up in that world. But like, I mean, his house, to be fair, meeting him, his house looked in pretty good order. You know?
Yeah. No, he's on it. Like, yeah. He commented on our video the other day, like, we were talking about water, the bad effects of it, and Cole was like, the UK has like one of the best services in the world.
Cheers, mate. Yeah. No, he's right. I mean, the UK water is compared to the rest of the world is good. But I love it. Like,
Mm.
he's just got such a like Tory take on it, like political take on like a little reel or whatever. Like, it's quite funny.
He's kind of a weirdo in school. Like, that's what I respect about him.
100%. Yeah.
Like, honestly, such a weirdo. Everyone knows him.
Yeah.
But everyone likes him, and they think he's going to be like prime minister. But like that's more extreme than us by quite a lot.
Yeah. They respect it because they think it's weird, but they're like, damn, like, he's weird, but he's not a loser. You know, people don't like weird, like, most weirdos are losers as well. That's why people find them weird. But like, Cole's a winner in a lot of ways. Like, he's a weird bloke, very old bloke, but he's winning at something.
I just like imagined like seeing one of his like weekly calls with like the MP of Torbay and like all these other important people, and this is just
middle-aged men. Yeah, literally. Like, I do respect.
Yes. Yeah, it's the thing of being different, and that's what people it's like there's a part of them that aspires to be that, and they call it weird because that is like disdaining it. It's like it's hiding the envy.
Well, if you call something weird, then you no longer feel obliged to replicate it. It's like, if I see someone doing a cool thing, it like lets me off the hook. Like, I don't have to do that too.
And even if there's like someone loud, really, you're just jealous that they're more confident than you. It's like maybe every single thing of hate, there's always some part of envy in it.
Always. Otherwise, you wouldn't. Like, what's adaptive about hating people? Nothing. It doesn't change you. It just creates more negativity in the world. It has to be driven by something dark, because it might be a bit of a harmless joke, but like, go and do something more productive with your life. Like, call your mum and give her a hug. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're commenting on our TikToks. What are you doing? Genuinely, what are you doing with yourself? We're two 19-year-olds on Zoom nattering about life. Like what? Why do you care so much? Like, bro, like, I don't know. Go and eat broccoli and read something and have a good conversation with your friend. Get off our TikTok comments. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's actually my thought process for it.
Did you see the one I put on my story there?
Yeah, where they were like
yeah,
two weird like comments like, "Oh, it's time for our daily hating."
Yeah.
That's a human, bro.
Like, yeah. I think lots of the darkness we just don't see in normal life.
No.
Because they're the kids that, I mean, to be fair, to be at uni, you've at least like, I mean, uni kids are in darkness, but I feel like maybe they're better than the average person because they're more connected to other people and stuff like that. But in our kind of, which is a point of gratitude, I guess, in our environments, we don't see a lot of those people, people that are in darkness.
I always just remember Rogan making the joke years ago of like, Michael Jordan doesn't leave YouTube comments. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine if like he like back in the if Twitter was a thing back in the 90s and he would get so much hate on it? Can you imagine if he actually replied to people? No, it wouldn't happen. He's got bigger things to worry about. He's got games to go and play. He's got training to do. He's got golf games to go and play. Like,
there's bigger fish to fry.
That's it, man. That's it. Yeah. It's weird though, isn't it? It's an odd feeling just seeing, like, you know that another human being has taken the time to click a button and type like a negative thing on your video, and it's like we're not even there's nothing to hate about us. Like, you might disagree with us, but like we're not making money from our podcast. You know, we're not promoting a product that's shit. Like, literally, mate, the way I see this is when we were like 10 years old, we used to have deep chats in the night when we'd have a sleepover. Like, this is just our new version of doing it. We're just doing it publicly. And maybe one of the main reasons we're doing it publicly is for accountability. You know?
Yes. Like, the deep chats of childhood, they were different. They weren't maybe not about life, but they were somewhat putting like stuff in a bigger picture.
Isn't it weird that
they
Yeah, like a lot of kids love that. When you have a sleepover, they're all like, "Oh, should we stay up and have a deep chat?" Like all the male friends I've had wanted that. There's like something inside of us that wants this brotherhood of like, let's get round a metaphorical campfire and talk about shit.
And why do you think that is?
Because talking to other people makes you feel less insignificant. And like the reason we, within the space of 3 years, not even that, have become like best friends from not speaking to each other is because we recognize we're on the same path. Like me talking to you makes me feel less crazy and validates what I'm doing every day and motivates me and gives me confidence. And I think you get a similar thing from me because we understand that even though we're on different paths, we're still striving to be better. It's in different directions, but it's still an upward movement, which we're both doing.
And that's why these probably won't stop.
No, mate. No. Even if it's not a public thing, even if the podcast ends or whatever, like me and you are still gonna chat every week, like, and just go through it all. Because there aren't people that get it. You know, most conversations are small talk, like, you know, hi, how are you? Yeah, this lecture's boring, isn't it? Oh, what did you do this weekend? Oh, that's nice. You know, we don't get into the real shit about how we feel uncomfortable being ourselves and how we don't know what we're doing with our lives, but we're just trying to be better and we're trying to show up, and like that's not normal.
Yeah. I'm quite tired of shallow small talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, like everyone has the desire for deep chats, or at least did when they were a kid. I just think they've maybe conformed to society so much that it doesn't come out with them. And yeah, it was talking about different things, but like there's something very, very wholesome about a deep chat.
Yeah. I mean, in the way. Go on.
It's outlet, and then you learn about yourself.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Like, it's almost like, same with writing. Speaking is the same, that it helps you consolidate a thought and it helps you come up with new ideas. Like, what I was going to say is in The Way of the Superior Man, they talk about how there's one chapter called You Should Enjoy Your Friend's Criticism. Really like it. And he talks about how we should all meet collectively as a brotherhood with people you're close to. And once a week or whatever, you sit down and you go, this is the problems I'm facing. And the people then give you honest advice about how to navigate that and move towards your mission in life. You know, he the way he frames it is having other people to talk about, like, puts out what your fears are. And then when they speaking about it with another person shows you like why you don't have to fear it. It's the same thing like on the phone yesterday with George talking about Oscar being classified and him being better than me in the same classification. Like in my head, that was like a scary thing that I should be afraid of. Right? And then just speak to George and him going like, George, you got to love the wobble and confidence. That uncertainty motivates you to train. It's like, oh yeah, what was I afraid of? It's just part of the mission, part of the journey.
Yeah. It's just, the fears a mile wide and an inch deep.
Like, this is what Ryan actually asked me just straight up on the phone the other night when I was talking about all this, and he was like, Joel, what are you actually afraid of? And I paused for like 10 seconds. I was like, I'm afraid of going all in and it not working out.
I think that's quite similar to me.
And like, now that's out there, it's like, okay, but what is the alternative? Don't go all in. And then it never work out. It's like, you've got to go all in and there's a chance that it won't go well, but you've got to accept that. And it depends how you define not going well. Because you either win or you learn a lot of things. The growth we're doing now is moving towards something, right? But it's still growth, even if we don't get to the thing we're moving towards.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been telling myself the slow progress is still progress.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And it's also that kind of trusting yourself as well. It's self-respect. It's the day that you don't show up is crushing. Like if you overcome that and eventually do show up, you hold the same self-respect, and you then trust yourself as well. I reckon, not being able to trust yourself and like not following through with certain things is quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's why you don't lie. Because when you lie, you no longer know. It's like, I love the bit where, like, Peterson talks about a lie fragments reality. So if I lie to you, right, my world with you in it is different to my world with other people in it. Because the narrative that I've told you about who I am is different. So then I have to jump into these different worlds and put up these different facades and personas until eventually I fuck up and you find out the truth. Or I just get incredibly anxious all the time because I never want to say something wrong. Like if I fundamentally lied to you, let's say I don't know, I did something that made your life worse, but lied about the fact that I did it, I would always have that hanging over me whenever I was around you. Like it twists the nature of reality, you know?
yeah, the advantage of telling the truth is you don't have to remember what you said.
Yeah, and your world stays consistent with all the people you're around.
Lying tears away your soul.
It does. It slowly degrades the soul, man. Yeah.
What were your points today?
I had one based on, and it's actually going to be what my next video is about. Not the one that hasn't come out yet, which George has for an edit, but the one after that I'm going to start scripting tomorrow. So it might actually be a good process for me to try and sort of explain it to you now. But basically, we had a lecture on thinking, and it was a good lecture. And the main sort of message was humans are bad at thinking, right? Full stop. Because, right, we have a very finite capacity to hold ideas in our minds. Okay. So then the way that we understand things is we sort of package them up into small, it's like forcing like a sleeping bag into a small bag, right? So then we can recover that information by remembering the small fragment, and then it all comes back to us as we elaborate, right? But generally we simplify things down because the brain doesn't have the capacity to hold masses of information at one time. And what was interesting, there was one point where they talked about how this limited capacity, they call it working memory or cognitive capacity, means that we can't actually think or mentally represent the whole path towards a goal. So before I go into that, we take the analogy of a journey, right? If I said to you, I have to plan out how I'm going to get to London, right? I can't I can't psychologically imagine that whole journey at one time. I have to take it step by step. I have to say, okay, I'll go out of uni, I turn left out of uni and go down a couple of roads and get to the junction where you go onto the M5, and I get on the M5 for about 100 miles, and I get on the M4, and I get on the M25, and I go around, like all of that, right? But I can't, that journey is at one block in my head. And they said human beings are the same way in their goals. So if you want to get to a place in your life, you can't visualize the whole pathway there. So what you do is you break it down into sub-goals. And the sub-goal can be held in your mind. And when you reach the sub-goal, then a new sub-goal is created. And all these composite sub goals then lead into the larger goal. And another key context they put it in that helped me was they talked about chess. And they went, the people that are best at chess are the people that can mentally hold the most pathways and moves and counter moves that could be made at once, right? So grandmasters are thinking like 40 moves ahead in a chess game. Whereas when you first start, most people don't even think ahead one, right? And that's because they have that ability to represent this big path towards a goal. Right? They've got that larger capacity. And what shocked people when a computer first beat a human at chess was the fact that the computer didn't have a capacity on how much it can mentally represent, because it's a computer, right? That depends on its storage. So the computer can imagine thousands of chess moves ahead. And that's why it beat a human eventually. But the lesson here is you don't know the full path towards a goal in your life. So to do that, to get to that goal, you have to create sub-goals that are sufficiently small enough that you can mentally represent a specific path to get there. It's like you want to be in great shape. Okay, you can't imagine what that'll take. But can you get up and go to the gym tomorrow and then eat a high-protein, pretty healthy meal after the gym? Well, yes. Well, that's your sub-goal. Like, work towards that, right? And it sort of links to the fact that you can, if you emphasize, so kind of what I talked about before about how we should be so impatient on the micro in our life. And by doing that, that creates the macro. It's like, how much can you emphasize on each individual sub-goal to then build on the larger goal? And that's sort of what my next video is going to be about, because there's also a book that I haven't read, but I love the idea of it. It's called The 12-Week Year. And basically the author says, like, if you try to force yourself to get everything done and grow as much as you would in a whole year, but in a 12-week period, would it be possible? So like that exercise of just trying to do that, how much more growth would you get across a whole year? And like the reason I resonated with that when I read that book summary was Europeans in 12 weeks. So maybe I'll link that into the video as well. And like, how much better at basketball can I get in 3 months? Because am I just being held back by my mindset thinking this process takes a long time? Or can I show up to every session with that urgency of, right, this is the 12-week year, and this is at this point in 3 months? Like, how much more progress would you make if you minimize that down? And like, because my brain can't mentally represent the whole path to becoming the player I'm going to be in 10 years, can I, this sub goal that I can focus on now, I can think, right, I've got 12 weeks and I do 5 sessions a week, that's 60 sessions before Europeans. I can imagine that. Can I do all of those as effectively as I can? End of essay.
Yeah, the maths adds up. It's a must quote of, if you work 40 hours a week and the other company works 20, it was, if you were 80 hours a week and the other company works 40, then you achieve double the other company in a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically the micro and the macro explained. But I think that's very good because it's more of an actionable concept. So when should goals kind of be set weekly, do you think?
You need an overarching mission. But then I think a 3 month is good. A 3 month, but you know how to work towards that 3 month every day. Like the daily is important, and the sort of quarterly is important, and then the big large goal is important. I think that's a nice sort of breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, goals are everything, really. Avoid this.
Yeah, man, and that's hell. That's hell on earth.
Aimlessness is hell. Because you don't have like you don't have a mission. You're kind of just like a statistic.
Life happening to you rather than you happening to life. You know, you want the world to be slightly different because you're on it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's there's this one Kanye clip when he's like why are you so upset about these like small little things that irritate you day to day, you could change the world.
Mm.
It'd be nice to change the world. I mean, it's kind of like a general overall like goal, isn't it, to change the world? But when I kind of like think about like saying it, it's like, is that kind of generic and that can't happen? But I guess you can.
Well,
Your own way.
it depends what you mean by the world. Is the world the 8 billion people that are here? Like, you're not going to change all those people. That's not real. But if the world is the situations that you encounter on a daily basis, because that is your world, right? The things you do, the people you interact with, the work you do, all of that, you can change that. And that is the world. That is changing the world. You know, if you go into a room and you make everyone smile and you inspire people day to day just with what you do and the person that you are, you're changing the world.
You can change your world.
That's it. That's a better way of thinking about it. I mean, that's why Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. Because if you change your little world and everyone else does that, that's the world. Changed. Done.
And I think people kind of have an overall answer for the meaning of life, and it's like to leave the world in a more positive place than it was before. It's like your existence matters then.
Yeah.
And that's all we want, humans. All we want.
It contributed to the overall history. Like, it's the phrase of like that you say, you owned that moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's all you have. Yeah.
Otherwise, time ends you.
Well, yeah, otherwise you're just... Well, time owns us all, really. Because we're always just slowly degrading into a death, you know? You sort of just been like... You're like when you take your kids to the park, you're like, right, in an hour's time, meet me here and we're going back home. It's like God's given you a bit of time in the park, you know? He's let you off the leash for a while. But you're going back there. Wherever the hell we came from, going back there at some point. So
you can negotiate time with increasing your chances to live longer.
Yeah, you decide how long or how you use the time at the park. You know, you decide what apparatus you use. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think this has been the best year of your life so far?
What, 2024 or March to March?
March to March.
How are we defining best?
Well, the stuff that you value is the highest.
Then maybe the answer is yes. Because I feel like, I don't know if it's recency bias, but every year, what I value is growth and peace of mind and enthusiasm, like bringing that in myself and in others. And I feel like I've grown the most March to March. Not even just sort of what I've achieved in the material world, but how I've grown emotionally, the things I've had to go through, the difficulty in a few different areas of my life. I feel like what changed the most this year was my trajectory has changed. In that I thought I wanted one thing and now I want something else. And that's happened in the last year. Has it been the year with the most positive emotion and fun? No, but is fun my metric now? I don't know if it is. Like, meaning is more important than fun to me. Fun comes along. You know, fun is tomorrow night when I go bowling with a couple of my course mates. That's going to be fun. But you don't want fun all the time, and fun isn't the goal.
And that was my counterpoint, because like in other in other years previously you valued other things.
Yeah.
Unless you can measure like us. Yeah, it's the same thing of being all in on the things you value. Because if you're going to value having a good time, you better have a good time every day.
Yeah, man. But that, I feel like that's what, like, when I see people our age, sort of a uni and stuff, like, that's what they value, going on a night out and having a good time. So when I see them doing it, I'm like, yeah, go for it. Go and live your life. Do what you want to do. Like, that's great. Go for it. You know what I mean? Like, don't let what I'm doing distract you. Don't worry about me. Like, I'm pleased when people say they had a good night out. I'm like, good. What's bad is when they come and they say I had a shit night out. It's like, you drank that much alcohol and you lost that sleep and you didn't even have a good time. That's deep. But when people say they had a good time, it's like, cool, you made a good decision.
Yeah, but then people get the fear of missing out.
Yeah, but the good thing is I don't feel that, you know? Like, if someone wants to go out 4 days a week, but that's actually what they want to do, not just what they think they want, then that's great. That's great. It's like that Chris Williamson idea that you have to pick what you want to want. You know? If you want to want that, and you do it, and it goes well, and you have a good time, you're winning. Everyone's set their own game in life. We're at our own level, you're winning. Because you're doing what you want to do, and you're succeeding at it. You've won.
But I feel like wanting what you want to want is quite hard because you don't know. You can't see the future.
But what you do, I think what that really means is not that you can choose exactly what you want, but that we all want thousands of things, but you have to pick from all the things you want what you actually want. So, like, I want to be a guy with the best social life at uni. But to do that, I would have to go and party and stuff. Don't want to do that. I want to have massive biceps. But to do that, I'd have to sort of go gym and bodybuild 5 days a week and stop doing all the sort of wheelchair basketball conditioning that I'm doing and just eat loads of eggs all the time, you know? Like, I want that, but I don't want what I get from it, you know?
So yeah, it's the thing of choosing our sacrifices.
Yeah. Pick your poison.
Take the red pill.
That's it, man. Go all in and just see what happens. That's it. Yeah.
Half.
No. Have you got any more points before we wrap up?
How long have we done?
I think just under an hour. But
right. You know, that's fine. No, I don't.
Although that wasn't great because the guest didn't show up. I feel like we had a good chat.
That was a good chat, yeah. I think that was my fault for not sending her a check-up email. I normally remember.
But what's odd is, like, when I emailed her, she emailed back and said thanks for the invite and stuff.
So yeah, I think that was probably the issue there. Like, I think people need reminders, and that.
Yeah.